Hello and welcome to Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. I am Colred. Thank you for joining me. So at some point in your raid career, you will hear from a content creator or a clanmate or a more experienced player that the team power number here in Arena is completely useless. It's a meaningless number and you can ignore it. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. In fact, that team power number is a very useful piece of information that I utilize every day to improve my performance in Arena. And so in today's video, I'm going to show you not only what that number is, where it comes from, but I'm also going to tell you how to utilize it to your benefit to improve your win rate, both here in Classic Arena and even over in 3v3 Arena as well. I hope you're ready for it. Let's get started. Raid Madness is down to its final 4 epic champions. If you are interested in the results of the current round, go ahead and click on the link in the description of this video to head over to the bracket and see which epics are still in the hunt for that championship title. The voting for the current round won't open for a few days yet. We've had to rearrange our schedule a little bit due to some real life circumstances, but don't worry, we will be back with our next Raid Madness video early next week with none other than Hell Hades himself as our guest analyst. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can find out when that video drops. While you're down there, go ahead and click that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Also, consider joining our Discord community. We have a lot of fun. Okay, so here we are in the arena. You can see I am in Gold 5, and this is my HH Challenge account, which is about 77 days old. I think I've been here in Gold 5 for about 20 to 30 days, maybe somewhere along those lines. And the reason I'm showing you this is to tell you that this discussion that we're going to have about team power is something that you can apply in the early game, in the mid game, in the late game. It helps you be more effective at Arena at any point in the life of your account. So it doesn't really matter where in Arena you are either. It doesn't matter if you're in bronze or silver or gold. It doesn't matter what your rank is in 3v3 Arena either. Basically, we're going to utilize the team power number as part of our assessment for choosing our opponents in the most effective way possible and hope that by doing so, we increase our win rate. Now, increasing win rate is nice. It's not the end-all be-all. Sometimes you have more tokens than you have time for, and it's okay to lower your win rate just to get in more fights in the time that you have available. But in the long run, obviously, the higher your win rate, the better off you are. It takes less time to get the same number of medals, and you can build your Great Hall faster. So that's what the goal is, to utilize this number to help us just assess our opponents better. That's the goal. Now let's talk about what the number actually tells us and how we use it. Here I am in my roster, and you can see that whatever champion that you select, there will always be a power number displayed here. My Rathalos Blademaster has 54,000 power. And as you can see, Archer has 43, Mordecai has 29, so on and so forth. The team power in the arena is simply the sum total of your 4 champions' individual powers. So where does that power come from? That's the question. Power is basically a number that represents the collection of stats that you have on your champion. Each statistic, HP, attack, defense, speed, crit rate, crit damage, resistance, and accuracy, all of these have different values in an equation. The totals are then put through that equation, and you get that power number spit out the other end of the equation. Now, it's not a great equation. It doesn't necessarily translate into effectiveness. So for instance, resistance is scored very highly, but sometimes resistance literally doesn't matter at all. It doesn't prevent damage from killing you. Maybe there are no debuffs coming your way, or you don't have enough resistance to resist the debuffs that are coming your way. And so the resistance that you have is inflating your power number without actually helping your champion in any significant way. So this is the reason behind why you hear the statement that team power is basically useless and it doesn't tell you anything. Now let's talk about what it does tell us. So back here in Arena, we can see that we have a whole bunch of different team power totals all the way through this page. This is a fresh page. And so we can see we have everybody from, looks like 389 is a pretty high total, 500K here, all the way down to 6K for this one-man defense. So let's ignore the one-man defense for a second. And what you'll notice is this page has a range from 137 to 500K in terms of the team power for our opponents. Now, it's not true that you should just pick opponents with lower team powers. Certainly, I can pick on this one-man defense. Thank you, by the way, Abby Hunt. That's awesome. Put out a one-man defense if you can. It just helps players out. But in terms of assessing all of the other teams on this list, I need to know a couple of things. One is I need to know what kind of team composition the opponent is running. What is their goal? What's the purpose? What's their win condition? That may require me to know a lot about the individual champions. It also requires me to know something about the different types of arena compositions that you see most frequently. It may even require me to know a little bit about how these champions are likely to be built when they're built well. The other thing that I need to know is my win condition and my relative power on my team. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull up this battle. And you'll see right here, this is my team's power, 161,000, versus the other team's power, which is 301,000. Now, some teams are built better than other teams. Some players understand arena a little bit better, or some players are using different tactics that may or may not impact the way you view their team power. What I can do is I can look at teams and say, what is my win condition and what is the enemy's win condition, and then compare the powers of those win conditions. And that can help me determine whether or not I have enough in terms of stats to overcome the stats of the enemy. So in a very simplified way, imagine that this enemy, this opponent, had 50,000 team power. I think everybody would say, okay, my team is likely to win, that even if that team is built well with 50,000 power, they're not going to overcome my team. Likewise, if that team had, say, 1,000,000 power, people would say, yeah, you don't have enough to beat that team. So we can see that team power does matter in that simple scenario. But now what we get into is that situation where it's like, okay, is 300K too much for my 161K team to overcome? And that's where you have to do all of these additional assessments. I know that, for instance, this team is probably going to go first. It has a speed aura. It has a increased speed buff from Elva here in the lead. And so probably it's a go first team, but it's built tanky as well. It can be a lockout team. You've got an AoE stun, you've got an AoE provoke, and then you've also got a block active skills and block passive skills here from the nuker, who is Rhonda. So if I go first, there's a chance that their tankiness is important, that they survive, they revive their champions. They have 2 revivers in Elva and in Syl of the Drakes. And then once I've utilized all of my skills, they're going to come back, they're going to lock me out, and they're going to blow me up. So their team power matters if they're a tanky team, because I need to assess how much team power I can overcome if that team power is in defense and in HP and in resistance. Right? So there's that to consider. Now, if the team's power is also in speed and crit rate and crit damage, and they go before my team, then I could also be in trouble, because I'm going to get stunned, I'm going to get provoked, I don't have a lot of resistance on my team, I don't have a cleanser. So if I go first, I might not win, and if I go second, I'm definitely not going to win. Now, if this team power were a lot lower, I would think that my chances of going first are higher. Elva has a base speed of 110, Deacon has a base speed of 100, and I am giving up 140,000 power, which is basically like almost 90% power, right? I'd be reaching 90% power above me to take out this team. So that team power is telling me I'm probably not fast enough. My Deacon is pretty fast for any 160K team. The speed auras are the same, but that Elva is rocking more stats than my Deacon, and it's probably at least a little bit an imbalance in speed. So this is not a good team for me to take on at this team power. Again, if the team power were lower, maybe I could take it on. If that team power matched mine, then I might feel like, even though I'm giving up 10 speed to Elva, there's no turn meter filler over there. and I have turn meter fill in addition to like a fast champion. So I might lose to the Elva, but still be able to go next. So now I start looking at the other teams, and I'm always considering the team power to try to assess whether the team is going to be faster than me, because I really need to go first, or if the team is going to be too tanky, or if the team is going to hit really hard. All of those things are considerations. So this second team, again, I'm at 161, so I'd still be giving up over 80,000 team power here if I chose to go up against this team. But this might be a slightly better matchup. I would almost definitely go second, right? That aura there is 32%. That's much larger than mine. And Lord Shazar here is going to be faster as well. He's got a base speed of 101. He's probably going to go first. Now, I could still potentially fight this, especially if I had a cleanser, because Lord Shazar is going to bring out bombs, Ninja's going to bring out a freeze. But if I can cleanse that or have a block debuff buff or both, then maybe I could go up against this team. But in this particular case, I don't have those on my team composition. So unless I was sure that I was faster, I wouldn't want to take on this team. If I was faster, by the way, I would very happily take on this team. I don't care about Ultimate Death Knight. I don't care about Scylla the Drakes in this composition. I'm going to be able to kill the two Nugurs really easily and then CC and whittle down the other two tanks. But in this particular case, again, I think I'm too slow. Why do I think I'm too slow? Well, the team power tells me that I don't have the same stats that this team has. I think I have a better built team, but it's not enough for my win condition to overcome their win condition. So I think my chance of winning this might be like 20%, and I'm not willing to take that risk. Now let's look at two teams here that are very similar in power. We have this Drexthar lead team here at 215k, and this Arbiter team at 218k. In this particular case, you might say, well, which team is better? Again, it's not so much that the power tells me which team is better. I need to assess the team composition and then determine the relative stats that are likely to be on that team versus my team. Arbiter is a go first team with more power than me, and the lead has got a bigger aura, and the champion is faster than my fastest champion. Arbiter, again, 110 speed, Deacon 100 speed. So that power difference tells me this is not a good matchup. I need to go first. They need to go first. They're going to win the speed race because they've got more stats. So yeah, I'm going to avoid this. Now, if this were, again, maybe 100k power, maybe I would roll the dice on it. But if I look at this team with 215k power, I realize, all right, this is a very tanky team. It's built around revivals. Now, I have sustain in my kit. I have speed in my kit. I have CCs in my kit. Even if I'm a little bit slower than this team, it may work out for me anyway. Maybe not. Maybe not. I do have to worry about the provokes. Obviously, there's a block damage. But this team is a much more likely good opponent for me than the Arbiter team. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and try this battle. Now, I'm not guaranteed to win this. But here you can see I'm giving away 54,000 power, which is roughly a third of my total power. So I'm going up about 30 to 35% here in terms of reaching above myself for this team. But I think my team is built better than this team. And I think that the team power isn't so much that I can't kill them. If this were like 400k, I would probably stay away because I'm not likely to whittle them down fast enough. And they're likely to have more resistance, more accuracy, more HP than I can realistically overcome with my 161k team. But here in this case, I think it's typically healthy while you're doing this to reach for teams that say have up to about 50% more stats than you, more team power than you. Once you get good at it, you'll know when you can reach even 100% higher or 150% higher. Sometimes a 160k team could take on a 400k team and win in very specific circumstances. But the more you do this, the better you'll get at judging your opponents. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and try this fight and we'll see what happens. Now, I should go first. That should be something I don't have to worry about. And in fact, I do go first. Now, I'm also going to manual here, right? When I'm reaching above myself and I'm punching upwards in weight class, I typically like to manual my fights. It also helps me discover the weaknesses in my team composition and think about possible substitutions I could make. So even if I lost against this team, I might have another team composition in mind that might be just substituting one champion or bringing in 4 whole new champions that could beat this team. Now, remember, I'm getting information not just from the team power now, but also from playing this team, from actually fighting against this team. So I know that I'm faster. And I'm faster, you can see by their turn meter bars, I'm faster by quite a ways. So I'm going to go ahead and use my turn meter fill and turn meter decrease on them. I'm going to try to hit them with the decreased defense. I landed it on every champion. I'm going to try to land my HP burns on everybody, which also give me increased attack. And then I'm going to use my AoE nuke on Rathalos and see how we do here. Pretty good. Now, if Rathalos didn't nuke them out, I still had Archer yet to go. She was going to go before their team, so I could potentially CC or kill anybody who remained standing. So in this particular case, knowing that the team power was low enough to be within striking distance of my team is incredibly relevant, right? If that team power were 300k, 350k, 400k, I could assume on a tanky team that they would be more survivable, right? That the focus would be on surviving. They'd probably be faster, have more resistance, have more defense, and more HP. And therefore, I might not have been able to blow them up the way I did when their team power was at 215k. All right, now we're going to keep rolling down here. We can see here's another team down at 137,000. The champions here, by the way, are very good champions, and this could be a rough team composition to roll into. But at 137,000 power, even with good champions, it's unlikely to cause me a huge issue. I am only 24,000 power stronger, 24,000 power above their team power. But that's enough to let me know I'm going to be going very fast. I'm going to have the accuracy that I need, and I'm probably going to have the damage I need to knock everybody out. Now, there could be a stone skin over there that could mess with me, and perhaps most of the power is on their Wukong, which could also be a problem. So it's not like this is 100% guaranteed to be a win, but I feel pretty confident taking this fight. So you can see that Demitha actually did go first, but for whatever reason, she didn't put up her block damage buff. That's a mistake, but that's actually a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, Demitha is often built very fast for unkillable clan boss teams, so she could have hurt me here. And it should be noted that in the future, anytime I think about a Demitha on a team, I should realize she's probably going to be very fast. My Deacon runs around 265, 270, and Demitha will typically run somewhere around 300 to 325 or so. And so that's why she went first. I don't have a buff strip. If she put up the block damage here, I could have been in trouble. But without that, we're going to go ahead and get into our rotation. Same thing as before. We're basically doing the same thing every time with maybe some minimal adjustments depending on what the opponent does. All right, now I've gotten to my Archer. Now, if you don't know, Archer does have this AoE provoke. She also has an AoE stun and decrease speed. So what I'm actually going to do here is I want to try to lock up Wukong so he can't buff strip me. But I need to wait out 2 turns of Stone Skin. So I don't know. It's going to be a little bit tricky. I think I'm going to try to put the provoke on him. Let's see if that works. It might just kill him. Did. Okay, so we know Wukong is coming back, and this could be the end of us depending on how well that Wukong is built. Let's try to work our way through here. Okay. I'm going to do the turn meter fill. Now I can try the stun. I got the stun. Turn meter fill. Okay. So now we're in really good shape. We're back around to our AoE. We do have an HP burn on the Ultimate Death Knight, so we're going to go ahead and nuke. I'm going to try to get this Ultimate Death Knight down. That Wukong, I'm trying to prevent the Wukong from getting any turns at all, but it's going to be very tricky. Here we go. Turn meter decrease. Yep. And there we go. Okay, so again, if you think about the way that fight just went, if there were some more stats on that Ultimate Death Knight, if he was tankier, and if Wukong had a little bit more speed on him, that could have been a really bad fight for me. That could have gone the other way. So knowing that this team only had, what was it, 137,000 power, you could see actually with a little bit of a redistribution, with Demytha using her block damage first, this team that actually has less power than me could have beaten my team. So what I want to do is log that. I want to record that in my memory and say to myself, one, Wukong is always a bit of an issue. Wukong and UDK together can be a pain. Demytha always runs really fast, so I have to be aware of that. And just think about the team composition here. I want to use this experience to improve in the future. But again, because the team power was so low, that allowed me an opportunity to go in here and experiment a little bit and learn about a really unusual team composition. You don't normally see this team composition, but sometimes you do see certain synergies, certain champions used together like UDK and Wukong. So I'm gaining experience and I'm learning more about the relative power of my team to other team compositions. Now you'll notice there is another team here with 215K. So we had a 215K team that we beat. We had a 218K team that we skipped past. And now we had a 215K team that we have to decide on. Now this team is kind of interesting. I believe there's a chance that we're faster than this team. And if we go first, we might, just might, be able to defeat this team. The problem being, Duchess is going to be tanky. And she's got more stats than we have on our champions. Her team power is 215K. She's likely to survive, revive the entire team, put that perfect veil on them, and then I'm going to have some trouble whittling them down, especially if Brogni is also tanky, because he's going to put up the block debuffs buff, and once that's up, I'm hosed, right? I mean, Duchess could put it up too, but if I'm faster, then at least I get one round. But if they both survive, they're going to get that block debuff buff up. I could handle the Leorius maybe with a crowd control, right? I could stun him or provoke him, and that might prevent him from being able to nuke me out. But this is a really tricky team to go up against, and I don't know if it matters if I'm faster, right? If I'm faster, that's going to be my best chance. If I'm slower, I'm hosed. If I'm faster, I've got a chance, but this team has a lot of chances to come back, and so maybe it's not worth it. If this team were running 160 to 180K, I would probably roll the dice and try it. But I'm giving away about 30 to 35% power, and that feels like enough to tell me I'm not going to nuke this Duchess out. If this Duchess were at 137K, absolutely. I would nuke them out and I wouldn't have to worry about it. But up at 215K, probably too tanky, maybe also too fast. So again, we're using the team power number to just calculate what's a likely good scenario when we look at these opponents. Now, I look at this 389K, right? This is another team. I just know based on the team power alone, I don't want to take this team on. There are ways that this team is strong versus my team, and there are ways in which my team is strong against this team. But here's the thing. If Warlord goes before my team and locks me out, it's all over. And it doesn't even matter who else is around him. If Warlord locks me out, I'm probably dead. So at 389K, I know that Warlord is faster than my entire team. He's probably running at over 300 speed, and my fastest champion is running around 270. So yeah, I'm giving up a lot of stats here. And even if I were to go first, chances are they're going to have some resistances. They're going to have too much tankiness. I'm not going to nuke them out. I know I'm not going to kill Tormund. Mortu Macabre is going to get activated. He's going to wreck my team. So this team is not worth going for, not because the team composition is better than mine. I like my team composition better, but because their team power is just too much for me to overcome. Before we go anywhere else, I'm going to take out this one-man defense. Thank you so much. Some free medals, free points there. That's great. So as you can see, including that one-man defense, I have been able to take out 3 of the 10 teams on this list. And that's enough. That's all I need to stay in Gold 5 Arena. I'm going to refresh the list, and I'm going to hope to find another 2 or 3 teams. Sometimes I'll find none. Sometimes I'll find 1 or 2. Sometimes I'll get a freebie from a one-man defense. But again, the first thing I look at is I look at the powers. I'm looking for low team powers. I want to see team powers under 250K. I'm looking at this one. Oh, it's an Arbiter. Okay, that's a skip. I'm looking at this one. That's 161. And this one is very similar to the Duchess team that we were just talking about on the previous page with 215,000 power. And I said, if this was down around 160 to 180, I would probably take it on. And that's what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to go first. I think I'm fast enough to go first. And I think I'm probably going to nuke out somebody. Their team is tanky, but they don't have enough team power to scare me in terms of their tankiness. So I'm going to go ahead and try this one, 161K versus 161K, and see if this is a good matchup for me. Well, it was running on auto. Okay, so we've got the opening. I mean, the auto will basically do what I was going to do anyway. But let's see. What we're hoping to do here is maybe kill Brogni, maybe kill UDK. I don't think we're going to kill Duchess. Okay, we got Brogni down. But now, and this is a really important second part. One, I know I'm faster. So I'm probably going to get all the way around to my Archer, who's my slowest champion. And 2, my Archer's accuracy is probably going to be enough without her accuracy buff. I can go ahead and buff her accuracy with the A1. But if I just go ahead and fire the Hex and Provoke right now, I may have enough accuracy to overcome their resistance and just land that Provoke. So let's go ahead and try that. And in fact, I landed 2 out of 3 Provokes. And that's all I really needed to do. I needed to land my Provoke on Duchess. Right? So let's go ahead and kill UDK. And now I also know I'm going to get my turn meter decrease because they don't have enough resistance. Right? My Mordecai has actually more accuracy than my Archer. Now I'm going to use my stun. I've only got a 75% chance here to stun, but we're going to actually... No, we're not going to do that yet. We're going to do the A1. The reason is she's still provoked. So I'm just going to beat on her for a while, make sure we get her nice and low. Yep, we didn't even need that stun. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and use the stun. We've got the increased accuracy on. And by the way, it doesn't matter what your team is. It doesn't matter what team composition you have. You may be looking at my team and being like, oh, wow, you've got really great champions. Like, yeah, they're good. They make a good team, right? But whatever team you've chosen to put together, you have a win condition that you need to understand. And you have strengths and weaknesses against other team compositions that you need to learn by going up against different team compositions. And then you can begin to judge whether the player power of the enemy is too high or whether it's right in the sweet spot. And again, if you look at their champions, they have more powerful champions than I do, arguably, right? I mean, certainly Duchess is the best of all of the champions on the board here. I would say Brogni is probably the second best of all of the champions here, except maybe Archer. Archer and Brogni are probably pretty close, right? And then Ultimate Death Knight and Syl are stronger than my Deacon and Mordecai for sure, right? So I have a better team composition in some ways, and I know that my strengths are enough to overcome their team composition if they don't have too many stats. And that's where the team power comes in. All right, now we can look again. I'm going to look down the list, and I'm going to start with the lowest team powers and assess those first. So this 207 team power is a little bit low. That's actually a little bit low because Wukong's only 40. But this could be doable. This could be doable because they're likely not faster than me. They don't have any turn meter fill. So even if Wukong, say, is faster, the biggest issue would be if Ragash is faster. If Ragash is faster, he's got an AoE stun. And they're decently tanky, but not overwhelmingly tanky. This is probably one worth rolling the dice on, especially since I have a lot of tokens. I've got like 40 extra tokens in my mailbox right now. And again, we are faster. And we'll see how we do here. All right. So what I'm going to try to do is land my Provoke on the Ragash. And I got him. And then we're going to just kill off Scylla the Drakes. My Archer is in Relentless, by the way. That's why she popped that extra turn. Now here I do have to worry about this Wukong, but he's only level 40, so I think I'm okay. And in fact, I am okay. Oh, maybe not. Well, now I'm going to get some heals. That's unfortunate. Now I've got to use my CCs to get all the way around here. No, I got stunned. So Wukong has a lot of accuracy there, and he also got lucky. I mean, that's not 100% stun there on his A1, but he landed it back to back. He also landed it earlier in the fight. So he landed 3 out of like 4 stuns, which is kind of unusual. But as you can see, this was worth rolling the dice. I was close to beating this team. And one of the things I could think about is I could think about how could I modify my team to actually win against this team. So one of the things that I could do here is I could pull out my Mordecai and I could bring in my Melga. Now, my Melga is going to give me a shield. She's going to give me some continuous heals. She gives me a revive. She's very tanky. So she could actually help me. What do I lose? I lose the increased attack and I lose the HP burn, which means I might not nuke out their Kale. I probably won't nuke out their Syl of the Drakes. But this is where I can start to say, okay, can I modify this team in such a way as to potentially knock down this team that now I have a lot of information about? Now I don't only know their team power, I know their speed order. I know, their win condition. I already suspected their win condition. I'm a little bit surprised at their Wukong being as effective as he was at 40. But like I said, when I first started going up against this team, this power number's a little bit off because even at 40, he has all of his gear. He has all of his accuracy, right? He has all of his crit rate. What he's lacking is like HP, defense, and attack a little bit. But still, that's enough. So I'm probably not going to do this team. I'm going to keep rolling, looking for low team powers. Nope, too fast, too fast, too fast. All these arbiters are too fast, too fast, too fast. Now there's this team right here. Now this has 465,000 power. It's got a cleanse and a block debuffs. They got 2 cleanses. They've got revives. Chances are they're just way too tanky. If this team were running 215,000, I would absolutely take them on. So I don't care about the revives that much. I just need to be able to burn through their tanks faster than they can revive. So if I kill a tank and they revive it, and I kill a tank and they revive it, and I kill a tank and they revive it, eventually they'll whittle me down. So what I need to do is kill a tank and kill a support, and then they get revives, and then kill a tank and a support, and then they revive, and then kill the reviver, kill the tank and the reviver and win that way. And with 465,000 power, which is almost exactly 3 times what I've got. That's too much. That's too much. Okay, so that is it. As you can see, I took on 4 battles. I won 5. 1 was a freebie, right, with the 1-man defense. And again, even losing here, I could potentially come back. And if I had the right adjustment that I could make, I don't think my roster supports the correct adjustment for this. I could try it, but I still think it'd be 50-50. But if I had a good adjustment there, I could potentially win that one and then have won, 5 out of 6 instead. So again, this is how you increase your win percentage. This is also how you just get more arena medals in the same amount of time. Yes, I am manualing in this particular video. I don't always do that. Basically, how I manual is how I set up my AI. So if I think I can beat the team, I would just run it auto and it would probably win close to the same rate. But I'll also watch, and sometimes I'll stop the auto and jump in and manual if the fight is particularly tricky, or if there's something that I don't expect, like a stone skin, or, somebody proves to be really tanky that I thought was going to be nuked out, something like that. But anyway, I hope this shows you that team power is an important component of assessing which opponents to pick. Remember, you don't have a ton of information. All we know are the levels of these champions, their blessings if they have any, and then the rest is guesswork, except for team power. So team power is the third piece of information that you actually know quite a lot about. More stats than you or less stats than you, and where those stats are likely to be given the team composition that you're looking at. Definitely let me know in the comments below, do you think this method of assessing your opponents based on their team power is going to be helpful in improving your performance in Arena. Also, let me know, do you already use this method? Is this something you already knew about? Are there tweaks or additions to what I've mentioned here that you could tell me that might even improve my performance in assessing my opponents as well? And if you have any questions at all about the method or about team power, go ahead and put all of that in the comments below, or just say hi. I like that too. All right, thanks so much for hanging out. I have been Cole Red, and I will see you in another video soon.